Hello and welcome to the Voice of America's Basketball Africa League coverage, our podcast, Nothing But Net. My name is Jackson Vunganyi. I'm here with my colleague, Mike Hovey. What's going on, Mike?
Yes, what's happening, brother?
What's going on, brother?
Easy.
So you and I were in studio for the past couple of weeks covering these games at the Nile Conference, which just concluded in Cairo. We're waiting for the Sahara Conference.
That's right.
Very exciting games. In many ways, we see an evolution of basketball on the continent.
That is correct.
Talk to me. How do you see things happening?
Yeah, man. BAL has been really exciting. One thing that keeps shocking us is we're like, man, we're already on season 4.
Yeah, I know.
BAL really has evolved. I like the contributions that it has to African basketball and the evolution of the sports on the continent. We're starting to see that link between Africa and America being, more and more tangible by the day, as we're seeing young Africans emerge and find themselves in the NBA and vice versa. A lot of them are participating in the Basketball Africa League. We pointed out so many players that are already in the G League that were playing in BAL.
Right.
So many players that are playing internationally that are in BAL. So I really am loving the way that it's linking those two regions, but also just developing the sport on the continent.
Absolutely.
That's really beautiful.
The youngest continent,
In
the
the
majority under 21.
That's correct.
This really a great idea by the NBA to expand basketball through this franchise, the BAL. I think my hope, you and I were talking about this, we hope that this will be a standalone league by itself,
right.
a standalone entity instead of it just being a pipeline feeding into the NBA. So before we, the just concluded Nile Conference, we watched the Kalahari Conference in South Africa. The NBA, the BAL expanded its league this year.
Yes, sir.
And they were in South Africa for the Kalahari Conference. What were some of the surprises for you there?
Well, the one is the announcement that we're going to see that we're going to delve into later on is
Right.
how I guess Cape Town Tigers have made it to Kigali.
The home team in South
the home
Africa.
team,
Yeah.
the host of the Kalahari Conference, they made it to Kigali. They probably had they only won one game out of all the games that they played. We saw a really impressive reign from the veterans themselves. That is Petro de Luanda, Angola. We also saw US Monastir playing really well. So those are probably the three teams that really stood tall when
Right.
it came to the Kalahari, conference. It was really disappointing to see Burundi's debutants drop out because they were playing well. They won their opening game,
Right.
and there were a lot of pundits were really expecting to see them.
Absolutely.
Go
They won
high
the
up.
first game, but unfortunately they had to
They had to
leave
drop out, right.
because of whatever issues, political issues. But speaking of debutants, we saw many debutant
Yes, sir.
teams that
In the
were
Nile
really
Conference.
excellent
Yes.
in the Nile Conference. Let's talk about one of the teams that really impressed you, Bangui Sports Club.
Bangui Sports Club really
Yeah.
stood the test of time. They wrapped up their conference 3-on-3. They won 3 games, lost 3 games. Still really confident. They played really well. They wrapped up the conference against Al Ahly's Egypt,
yes.
the kings
the
of the
defending
Nile,
champions.
of
You're
the
not going to beat the defending champions on their home
on
turf.
their home turf. So that was, really, but they really played well. They took on a lot of teams. The only team that really was dismal or played terribly in the Nile Conference was Uganda City Oilers. But
Yes.
shockingly enough, they actually took on the Kings
Right,
themselves.
they did
and
win that
defeated
one game.
That one game that they won. So yeah, but it's been a really exciting 2 conferences. I loved the attendance. I loved the marketing that was put into South Africa, it being the inaugural one. I also loved to see how the debutants really stood the test of time and played well.
Absolutely,
I look
absolutely.
forward to seeing how they, how it plans out for them in Kigali.
What was your takeaway in terms of the players? We saw that, for example, the roster for the City Oilers of Uganda did not include many of the players that play
Yeah.
in the local leagues, that
Yeah.
win the local championships. What do we need to see next season in terms of, I guess, coaching and, trying to bring in these younger people on the continent?
I look to hear more from the BAL representatives that we're going to have, but really from the observations and the conversations, one thing is people want to see more local faces
Right.
in BAL participation. To have in the City Oilers only one player from Uganda, for a lot of people are like, I mean, it's great. Once again, it's a damned you do, damned you don't situation, because having all these foreign players really heightens your chances of emerging out of that group, right? Because when you have, for example, the Cape Town Tigers had Billy Preston, Al Ahly Libya had Papi. You know what I mean? Like, you need some of these players because they bring up that differentiates
The level of basketball.
the level of basketball,
Yeah.
right? Differentiates what we saw in season 1 versus what we're seeing now.
Correct.
So that's really great. But at the same time, you want to find that fine balance and ensure that you're also doing the mandate of what Bal is supposed
you're
to do.
platforming these
You're
younger people
platforming
from the
young
continent.
athletes from the
And
continent.
speaking
So,
of the
yes.
reigning BAL champions, Al Ahly of Egypt are one of the biggest names in African sports. Last season, they won the BAL championship. That was a great achievement for the team and for the country. And they hope to defend the championship this season. The competition is growing better each year, and the teams will be extra motivated to defeat them and take their place as the champion. Let's check them out.
Al Ahly, it's the biggest club in Africa. It's club of the century in football. It's like one of the biggest names in African sports, and it's a huge institution. It has over 80, 90 million fans all over the world. So I mean, it's an honor and it's a privilege to be able to play for such a big name.
So last season we had a tough group in the Cairo conference. We had a loss against Petro, last second offensive rebound, and I think that helped the team to understand how hard it is to beat every opponent, and I think that prepared us for the Rwanda games.
As the giants of the BAL clash, start Malian and Al Ahly. Start and Amin steps back. This break, Thompson goes up, goes under, and it's Al Ahly who are victorious today, and they will advance to the finals.
Final day here at the BK Arena. AS Douanes of Senegal take on Al Ahly of Egypt. Zoran did beautifully. Sky and Omar tied. Oh yes, oh yes. He just delivers the perfect score there. And the winners of the 2023 Basketball Africa League are Al Ahly. Victorious.
The BAL is, it's a tough league, competitive league, a lot of athletic guys. I had a lot of friends who played in this league, so I just know the competition is very high.
Being a defending champ, every opponent has an extra motivation to beat you. Same time, I think we have to forget about it and approach every single game with the motivation to win. Like I always say, if we win games regularly, we will end up fighting for and hopefully winning championships.
Win the championship, and that was probably the highlight of my career. It's a great achievement for us and for the club and for the country, and hopefully we can repeat that this year again, and we can defend our championship and win it again this year. I feel like the competition has gotten better overall in the tournament. The talent is growing every year, but we're going to be ready for that.
I was the defending champions Al Ahly of Egypt. They'll be relaxing as they wait to go to Kigali in late May.
I don't know about relaxing. They keep on working, man. They keep on working.
But Mike, the one thing that we saw about this team that really sets them apart from other teams is the depth on their bench.
Yes, definitely. It was really beautiful to see Al Ahly, Egypt, the Kings of the Nile Conference, really show and exercise why they are known as the Kings of the Nile Conference and why they were the defending champions. We saw in their last game, they definitely stood the test of time, man. Right. They had a lot of their star players posted up.
They sat down after 8 points. They sat down
on their oppositions,
yeah.
Man. It was really beautiful to see the depth, but also looking at their team list, man. They only had 2 import players. That for me speaks to the ethos and the essence of what Bal is supposed to be doing.
Absolutely.
Grooming young talent.
But also you're talking about a sports team that is, one of the most rich, has resources to bring in and develop talent, and that's why probably we have these younger players or players that have been with the team for a long time, and speaks to the talent of the team.
Right.
It helps when the country or the team has resources to throw at the game. Speaking of Basketball Africa League, the Sahara Conference will be speaking to one of the officials later on in the show.
Right, we're going to be joined on the show shortly by Ruben Boumtje.
Absolutely.
Boumtje. I love his name, man.
Ruben Boumtje. But we did have an exclusive interview with the CEO of the NBA Africa, Claire Akamanzi. The NBA Africa announced the launch of the Triple-Double NBA Africa Startup Accelerator, which is a new startup accelerator that is focusing on early-stage startup companies across the continent. The initiative aims to support African tech entrepreneurs in sports and creative industries with mentorship, with resources, which is what we're talking about, Mike, a lack of resources. So I spoke with Claire Akamanzi, the NBA Africa CEO that recently took a new position early this year, to talk about how this new initiative aligns with the U.S. Department of Commerce's Africa strategy and President Biden's Digital Transformation with Africa initiative. Let's check it out.
Thank you, Jackson. I'm very happy to be part of this. Thanks for having me over. Yes, so NBA expanded its footprint to Africa many years ago, but more specifically, NBA established its NBA Africa office about 4 years ago with a league. It's called the Basketball Africa League, which is in its 4th season now on the continent. And the mission really is to use the power of basketball to transform Africa's economies and also to contribute to the well-being of society, of the youth, using the power of basketball. And what we've seen is that basketball can actually be a big catalyst for economic development. If you have a developed basketball, as I have seen in Rwanda, where I come from, you have infrastructure like an arena, you have the local federation improving because they want to be part of, the big story and also be part of the Basketball Africa League. You have the ecosystem from hotels, restaurants, transport systems, security, all of them feeding into the basketball economy. And as a result, really driving economic development. So NBA is very excited to contribute to this and to really use sports as a big tool for economic development.
Right. And one of the new changes that you've already implemented or you're implementing is this Triple Double Accelerator program. Tell us about it and its objectives.
First of all, how we plan to grow basketball on the continent through the NBA Africa office is to leverage the strength of the continent. The continent is very strong in sports talent. I think we have a lot of strong sports talent, but the continent has a lot of other big attributes that we think intersecting basketball to those big attributes on the continent is a win-win all through. So one of those areas is tech. Africa's youth today are very innovative. We have countries like Nigeria, Kenya, Ghana, South Africa, Rwanda, etc., that are attracting more and more venture capital and being able to develop solutions that can actually make significant changes in different businesses. And so we know, as we've seen in the US with the NBA, that technology and digital inclusion is part of improving the experience of basketball or sports in general. And so building on what we've seen in the US, but also building on the strength of the African continent youth that are very strong on tech startups, we said, why don't we initiate an accelerator that really helps to grow something Africa is strong in, which is innovation, but helping to take innovation to market. And so this is a Triple Double Accelerator where we will collect. We already have 52 applications, by the way, since we launched it a few days ago. So the response is really good. And we expect to reach hundreds of applications. And then we shall narrow that down finally to 10 and then to the top 4. The ones that win, we shall give them a cash prize, but we shall also give them mentorship. Today, we are finalizing our partnerships with some big tech companies that we think have the capacity to give the mentorship they need in order to take their projects to the next level. So a successful initiative after all this will mean startups that have real solutions that we're using in the BAL or NBA Africa, because what we expect is that these solutions will be very specific to the sports and creative industry. So we will benefit from that if well developed. And the startups will benefit because we'll help them grow and to really become bigger on the continent. And so we expect a win-win for the ecosystem on the continent.
Absolutely. We love to see these convergences. Now, how does the NBA Africa Accelerator program differ from other sports development initiatives across the continent?
First of all, I think doing it with NBA is different because NBA already has a lot of experience. It's a global brand. It's a cultural phenomenon that the world knows, but also that has a lot of experience over the several years of being in existence. And so I think the big difference is that this is being done with the NBA, leveraging on the strength that the global brand of NBA brings on board. But also what makes it different is that not only are we promoting solutions, but we can actually use the solutions if they improve the offering that we have. So we expect those solutions to maybe improve the ticketing system, maybe improve the in-arena experiences, maybe bring artificial intelligence to the experience that fans have, whatever it is that can help. I think the fact that we are in the business of basketball, we have a league, we actually have the capacity to try those solutions and bring them on board, which makes it different from just promoting, but also providing a platform to do that. And I think the third thing is that we are also looking at the combination of sports and creative industry, which is very important. I think we like to say NBA or basketball is beyond just the game of basketball. It is an experience, which is why we're very big on entertainment in our arenas. We're very big on supporting music, culture, and whatever fans have experience in the creative industry, we promote that together. And so this Triple Double Accelerator is also about not just solutions for the sports sector, but also sports and creative industries. And I think that's a really very good mix that we hope will be unique.
That was Claire Akamanzi, the CEO of the NBA Africa, talking to us about the Triple Double NBA Africa Startup Accelerator. Now, Mike, we just concluded the Nile conference in Cairo.
Yes,
we are
sir.
getting ready.
Senegal.
Our shoes are shined, booking our tickets.
Do you know your French
to
yet?
Dakar,
Tu parles
Senegal.
français?
Oui, un peu français. I'll be parling a lot of français. But so, this year, again, in Dakar, I think this is the second time they're playing
sir.
in
That is
Dakar.
correct.
We have somebody in Dakar currently who's going to talk to us about
Right.
BAL.
So we are joined by the head of league operations for the Basketball Africa League. His name. I love his name. I've also followed his career. He played for the Portland Trail Blazers. Mr. Ruben Boomjay. Ruben, how you doing, man?
I'm doing very well, Mike Jackson. Thanks for having me.
Ruben, thank you so much for joining us, brother.
Thank you. Thank
So
you for
this is
having
the
me.
second time the Sahara Conference will be taking place in Dakar, Senegal. What can people expect this year that is different from last year? What has the BAL done to prepare for the for the Sahara Conference this year that's different from last year?
Yeah, I think from just a basketball standpoint, people should expect a more competitive conference than last year. It was already very competitive last year, if you guys remember, especially the last day with AS Douanes and US Monastir. That was a pivotal game. So our goal is really to create that atmosphere for this conference. And I think that the level of all the 4 teams participating is fairly balanced. With everything that happened last year, essentially there's some contract coming back, a couple of different teams, but we see, I look at the roster, I look at the improvement of roster in terms of the talent that this team have added, a few teams. So, and with, the format that we have, this new format where we have every team playing every day, playing the weekend, and playing really six games in 8 days, which also make it difficult. So I expect the competition in Dakar to be an improvement from last year, just as we saw here in the Nile that we just finished, or for the Kalahari Conference as well. So, and from an entertainment standpoint, which also is a very important part for the BAL. And I think you guys saw what happened in Pretoria. We work as well to do it in the Nile. So here in Senegal, I know my colleagues are working feverishly to put together a great lineup of entertainment before the game and halftime. So it will be a great experience. So I encourage everyone to come and check it out and see what, for those who haven't seen it yet, what the BAL is all about, to really have this great experience and
that we're trying to build in the continent.
Now that you brought up Pretoria, you guys did something really exceptional in South Africa, it being the first time that the conference was held there. We saw packed arenas. At times, I was jokingly saying with Jackson,
Yeah.
you'd hear like from DC listening, you'd hear defense, defense. You know, that's something that typically you would only
That's
see
the
in the
American
NBA,
energy.
right?
That's the NBA
Um,
energy. Yeah.
We've seen that conference do really well. Cairo, the only time we saw that was when the home
When the
team
home
would be
team was playing, yeah.
What do you have in plan for Senegal to make sure that you have the same energy for the players?
Absolutely, and we did last year when we were watching the games. The arena was almost empty many of the times, and they were talking about logistical problems that the stadium is a little outside of the city. Yeah, what are you doing this year to get more bodies in those seats?
Yeah, I think one thing that's going to help is just the level of play, right? For people who witnessed the last two conference, knowing that they're going to go to a very competitive game. I think that will be helpful. From a logistical standpoint, yes, the stadium is still pretty full, but I think, we're working right now with a lot of community. We think Dakar, we're targeting a lot of groups and trying to have like group sell is really been like a high focus here with some of our partner or just some company around. The latest I've heard already is very encouraging in terms of the number of people or ticket we've sold. We're also working really hard on providing transportation. As you guys know, we don't have direct access like from the train to the stadium, but we're working right now on providing really some transportation in key areas of the city to be able to bus people to the arena. So there's a lot of work happening. It started a while ago. I have a lot of colleagues in the marketing department and communication that are working on that. So I expect a high turnout more than last year. And I think we'll see an improvement definitely on the weekend. During the week, we understand it can be a bit tough, but from the number that I can see now, I expect a lot more crowd than we had last year.
Now, of course, let's zone in a little more on the teams. You talked about how exciting Senegal is going to be. We've seen a lot of big teams that are doing really well. US Monastir features. We see AS Douane, Rivers Hoopers Basketball Club, and of course the Rwandan team. Who are you favoring here? Who do you think is going to look good in this conference? I'm really curious.
Are you even allowed to favor?
Listen, he can speak. He's a former ball player. He can tell us what's what.
I am impartial. I'm favoring good competition.
Mike puts you on a...
I'm curious.
No, I mean, that's not my single focus, but my biggest focus is just to see a great competition. I really love when we have teams with great balance and really it just bring natural competition. Now in the now we saw some, I would say, some upset. I think we all agree with that, but I think for the Sahara Conference, I wouldn't say there's a clear favor. APR put a lot of invest a lot on its team this year. They did a lot of training, which is very encouraging for us. They're not the only team actually who did long training camp, oftentimes outside of the country. So they did put a lot of resource this year to come. US Monastir as well, the sign Crawford and Mantle that you guys are aware, veteran of the league. AS Douane is AS Douane. River Hoopers as well. Spend a lot of time trying to find the right player for them. So I think, to me, it is likely going to be quite a balanced conference, but you never know, which is also the exciting part of this competition. But I just want to see great competition. I think that we're going to see that.
Shortly, we're kind of spotlighting on the teams in less than a minute. I'm really curious. We saw a lot of debutants doing really well this year. What does this speak to when we're talking about the evolution of the Basketball Africa League? Season 1, Season 4. This year we had at least 3 debutants, and all of them really did well.
No, I think it speaks to how serious in the continent in overall. A lot of the league are taking the BL. Right? They're seeing really the level of professionalism. They've really seen the level of competition. It's bringing a lot of excitement in various country and leagues. We are seeing a lot of people putting investment right now to have teams in the BA in the future. We're seeing a lot of league trying to really rebuild themselves, you can put it that way, to have more consistent league throughout the year. So I think this is one, to me, what we've tried to achieve to be. We want to influence, leagues and country and talent, get people excited, and they are taking it seriously. Bangui as a new team, they train. They train for a long time. They, road to the BL. They spend time in Cameroon for the preparation for the Nile. They spend time in Rwanda because they have a vision for what they're trying to achieve. So a lot of country, even the veteran country like Angola, they have huge ambition. They want to win the BL. They want to be the king of basketball in Africa. So I think that just having the BL at this platform, that we have and trying to really spur not with ideas, but we want to have profound effect into leagues and national competition, all that, and we all know the talent that Africa has.
Absolutely.
So I think this is a great platform just to keep developing that platform, and I expect in the next few years, I don't know, 5 years, 10 years, that we're going to see a lot stronger local talent, which need to be for the continent. And those are the teams that have, the strongest local talent that I think are really going to shine and win the BL for years to come.
Now, Ruben, before we let you go, we wanted to ask you a little bit about your experience playing for the NBA and how you see, in terms of comparison of the level of play with the BAL right now, how things look in terms of comparison and some of the teams that you played for.
It sounds like I'm told we lost him.
We lost him. We lost Ruben.
But anyway, no, it was really impressive to hear the conversation around how BAL's grown, man. It's really exciting. I will say 4 years later, as Ruben highlighted, we're seeing a lot more development. As Claire highlighted, we're seeing a lot more investment. We've spoken to several players, among them Lebesa Selepe, who talked about how Puma is getting involved with some of the athletes on the continent.
Deals,
some of the side deals that are emerging, all because of BAL. Speaking more to what Claire's saying, is that they want BAL to be a gateway to more development on the continent.
Absolutely. And also the convergence of all these different industries. When you talk about sports, obviously you're talking about youth, a youth population that is involved in things like the creative industries, fashion, music. And with this accelerator program, I think the intention is really to see how those intersections can be amplified using the resources of the NBA.
It's exactly what the NBA is doing, man. I like that. The model works. They're taking the model, bringing it to Africa. We saw in South Africa, all these celebrities stood out. They were giving the halftime performances, which is why some people were saying, oh, that's why you're seeing so many people turn out, because you have a celebrity that posts on social media, hey, come, I'm performing here.
Absolutely.
I'm going to rock up, man. These tickets aren't as expensive as the shows, so I'm sure it's helping.
Mike, before we go, I think we're coming to the end of our Nothing But Ned podcast here on the Voice of America. We are going to the Sahara Conference next. What are some of the teams? And what are some of your projections in terms of, this is the question you put to Ruben.
Man,
put it to you.
Man, don't put
you
me on
allowed
the
to take
spot like
sides.
that. Man, listen, this conference really is looking like it's one of the most competitive conferences they are. I'm yet to see, it doesn't look like there's any debutants, so everybody there already has
some experience.
You're coming head on saying, yo, I know you, you know me, let's see what you got. So I'm excited to see this. The Rwandan home team, not the home team, but the Rwandan team. We're going to see AS Douane taking on Rivers Hoopers Basketball Club. So this is going to be really interesting to see how this wraps up in Senegal. Who's going to emerge? Of course, earlier on, we highlighted a couple of teams that have already made it to Kigali. We're talking about the Cape Town Tigers surprising everybody.
They made it. How did this happen? What kind of magic did they pull?
Of course. And then they are going through with the Petro de Luanda, that is the Angolan team. And of course, FUSD Rabat. And then, of course, we're going to see Al Ahly Libya Sporting Club. They also qualified as the second best from the Nile Conference. Al Ahly Sporting Club, the Egyptian, the killed the Nile Conference, they made it on there. first place, and then we're going to see if Bangui can qualify. Now, chances are they will because they have the exact same record as Al Ahly Libya.
And we have to wrap that up. Mike, I know you and I can talk for hours on end, but this was nothing but net here on the Voice of America. Remember, check us out at voaafrica.com on our social media platforms. Just search for VOA Africa. My name is Jackson Vunganye. That was Mike Harvey. We'll catch you in Dakar, I guess.
Yes, sir.
For the second.
You got to say goodbye in French.
Goodbye. I was going to say bonjour. Au revoir.
Au revoir.